Hello everyone and welcome to our YouTube channel. In this video, me and my friend will be discussing 3 of the most important concepts in media studies. One of it is objectivity in media. As audiences, we consume news and information every day through television, newspaper, website and social media. But have we ever stopped to ask whether the information we receive is truly objective? Now, we're going to dissect the concepts of objectivity in media. We often hear this term a lot, but do we know what this actually means? Objectivity is one of the core principles of journalism. Objectivity, it is the belief in facts, distrust of values, and a commitment to separating facts from personal opinions. So it is not simply about getting the facts right, but also about using professional methods and practices to ensure that facts are separated from values and personal belief. Is media truly objective? To better understand this issue, Maisarah will explain how objectivity operates in journalism and why it remains a topic of debate today.
Now let's look into if media is truly objective, which we know that although objectivity itself is an important journalistic principle, but many people still question whether complete objectivity is actually possible. And one thing's for sure, that we know that journalists follow routines, practices, and they often talk to the same sources and follow professional norms that shape how news is produced today. Because journalists decide which events are important, news is not simply a reflection of reality as we know. Instead, news is socially constructed as a whole through decisions made by media professionals, which means that personal judgment, organizational values, and even institutional routines can influence the final news product. So, a recent example, we can see that if you've seen the media coverage of the USA-Iran conflict, we know that different news organizations reported the same exact conflict but emphasizes different aspects of the story itself. For example, the New York Times, which focuses on the national security concerns and the protection of US interests, while the New Arab focused more on civilian casualty and regional instability. Which this shows that the news is not simply a mirror of reality, but journalists and media itself decide what is newsworthy and which aspects of an event deserve the most attention. Now, let's look into rejecting objectivity. Why such thing exists? Well, it's simply because complete objectivity is made to be difficult to achieve, which some alternative journalists reject the traditional idea of objectivity itself. Rather than remaining detached from the issues, they actively support causes they actually believe in, which this is also called alternative journalism, which some argue that being transparent about one's perspective is more honest than claiming complete neutrality of the issue itself. An example, you can see that Jane Fonda, public opposition on the military action on Iran, along with other social media influencers who speaks about the same thing, openly about the issue. So we can see that rather than attempting to remain neutral on the issue itself, they openly expresses their opposition and use their platforms to advocate for peace, which then reflects the idea of rejecting objectivity. And another important aspect to take note is also, of course, citizen journalism. As we know, citizen journalists are scattered across the public, and they are just ordinary individuals who document events and share information with the public. Which we can see that during crises and conflicts, they often provide real-time footage before even professional journalists arrive at the scene. For examples are these. Moving to norms on the internet, new media, and new organization, we know that social norms are no longer shaped only by families, schools, or even local communities that we know, or traditional media. But today, social media connects most people globally, along with information, opinions, and even behaviors to spread rapidly. And new media platforms nowadays, we know that they are more interactive than traditional media because users can actively participate in creating and sharing content. For example, during the USA-Iran conflict, we can see that people followed updates through hashtags such as war with Iran, which shows how social media has changed communication norms. Public attention is no longer determined solely by traditional and organization, but instead social media users can influence which issues become popular and receive widespread attention on the other hand. Which in conclusion, while objectivity remains an important principle in journalism, the rise of alternative voices, citizen journalism, and social media has challenged the idea that news can be completely neutral. The USA-Iran conflict that I just showed you demonstrate how information today is just shaped not only by media professionals and journalists, but also by activists, ordinary citizens, and even online communities that we know. Which is, as audience, it is important for us to critically evaluate information from multiple sources before actually forming our own opinion.
Thanks to Maisarah, from her explanation, we can see that objectivity in media is not always as straightforward as it seems. While journalists strive to uphold professional standards, factors such as news routines, editorial decision, alternative journalism, and the rise of citizen journalism can all influence how information is presented to audiences. So with the understandings of objectivity in media, we will now move on to our next topic. So, for the next topic, we're going to talk about what is media and ideology. To understand how media influences our perceptions of gender and race, we first need to understand the relationships between media and ideology. So, as everyone knows, media refers to communication platforms that deliver information and entertainment to audiences. So, ideology refers to a belief, values, and ideas that shapes how people understand society. Media is never completely neutral because the content produced often reflects the interests of media organization, advertisers, audiences, and dominant social values. So do you know what is significant content? To answer that question and explain its importance in media studies, Puteri will take us through it.
According to media studies, content can be understood in a four-way. First, content reflects the production process where creators and advertisers influence what shown. Second, content reflects the audience preference. As a media organization, produce materials that attract the viewers. Third, content reflects the society norms and value. Finally, media content can influence audience by shaping attitudes and perception about the social issue, including gender and also the race. We go into the first phase, diversity in media content. Casting of the black actress Khairy as Ariel's in A Little Mermaid 2033. The Little Mermaid 2023 is a notable example of diversity in media content. The case happened when the casting of Khairy as the Ariel in The Little Mermaid 2023 faced an aggressive ways to backlash and target the harassment on social media, often utilize the hashtag #NotMyAriel. Some people have rejected the idea of the black actress playing the roles of the character historically who initially depicted as the white and red-headed mermaid. The discussion highlights how media content can reflect changing social value and traditional norm regarding race and ethnicity. The case demonstrates that the media plays an important role in shaping public perception of diversity and encouraging broader representation within the independent industry.
So we know that relation to diversity in media content expand representations in traditionally white-dominated roles, shows how media diversity can spark public discussion about race and inclusions, reflect changing societal values regarding representations. So these examples shows that media content not only reflects society but can also challenge existing norms and encourage conversation about diversity and inclusions. Let's go back to Puteri.
2020, Josh Clark, a 46-year-old black man, was murdered in Minneapolis, Minnesota by the police officer Derek Chauvin. Chauvin knelt on the flood nets for more than 9 minutes while Floyd was handcuffed and pleading for his life. So many people use social media platforms to raise awareness about the racial discrimination. This case demonstrates how media can function as an information provider. As the result, media coverage not only increase awareness of the racial inequalities but also influence public opinion and pressure policymakers and organizations to address issue of the discrimination and reform. This illustrates the media's roles in shaping public discussion and race and ethnicity. At the same time, it shows how audience can influence the media agendas by demanding greater representation and social justice. Controlling media image of the race. So the next case is the media representation of the Muslim after the tragedy September 11. The September 11 attack was carried out by the Al-Qaeda, a militant extremist group whose members identify as a Muslim and claim religious justification for their political violence. Many Western news outlets and film frequently portray Muslim people of the Middle Eastern descent as terrorists, extremists, and security threats. These repetitive portrayals create a stereotype that influence public perception and contribute to the discrimination against Muslim communities. This case illustrates how media institutions have the significant powers in controlling racial and ethnic image by emphasizing a certain narrative while ignoring the diversity, complexity, and lived reality of the group being represented.
Now we can see the relation to controlling media images of race. Media created and reinforced negative stereotypes about Muslim. Certain racial and ethnic groups were repeatedly represented in a limited and negative manner. This portrayal influenced public attitudes and contributed to discrimination and Islamophobia. So many organizations had significant power in shaping how audiences view a particular racial or ethnic group. So this case actually highlights the powerful influence media has in constructing social perception, particularly regarding race and ethnicity. So let's go back to Puteri again.
Gender, women present and controlled in the media. Case of the BBC Gender Pay Gap Controversy 2017. In 2017, the British Broadcasting Corporation (BBC) published the salary data revealing that many female presenters and journalists were paid less than the male counterparts, although the women present as the important level in the journalists and reporter. The BBC Gender Pay Gap Controversy highlight that the issues of the women present and controlled in the media. Although women hold the important position as the journalist and broadcaster, the publication of the BBC salary data in 2017 revealed significant pay disparities between male and female employees. The case showed that while women are increasingly represented in the media industry, inequalities in power compensation still exist. High-profile journalists such as the Khairy publicly critiques the unequal pay structures and resigned from her position as a China editor in a protest. She accused that the number of the operation and unlawful secretive salary culture after discovering that male international editor earns at least 50% more than their female counterparts.
Why this fits women present and control in the media? Women are increasingly present as journalists, editors, and broadcasters. Despite their presence, decision-making power and rewards often remain unequal. Demonstrates that women continue to face structural barrier within media organizations. So the case reminds us that representation alone is not enough if equal opportunities and recognitions are still lacking. Back to Puteri.
Case of the #MeToo movement 2017. The #MeToo movement began gaining global attention in 2017 after allegation against the film producer Harvey Weinstein. In 2017, investigation by the New York Times documented the sexual misconduct allegation. High-profile accusers including the Anna Jolie, Gwyneth Paltrow and Rose McGowan prompted criminal probes in multiple jurisdictions. Because of this, millions of women use social media to share experience of sexual harassment and workplace discrimination. The hashtag #MeToo movement demonstrated the changing media roles for the women and men. Through the social media platform, women were able to challenge traditional power structure within the media industry and society. The movement encouraged the organization to review workplace practice and prompted greater gender equality. This case illustrates how media can become a platform for the social change and empower marginalized voices.
So why this fits changing media rules for women and men, challenges traditional male-dominated media culture, encourages media organizations to address gender inequality, changes how newsrooms report gender-related issues, give women a stronger voice in the public discussions. Overall, this example actually demonstrates how media can both reflect and influence society's understanding of race, gender, diversity, and equality. So through the content it produces and the issue it highlights, media remains a powerful force in shaping public opinion and social change. Thanks to Puteri. With that, we can now move on to our final topic. We are currently living in a world where news travel faster than before. With one post or just one headline, it can reach thousands or millions within seconds. So the question is, how much of what we see is actually true? According to the Elements of Journalism book by Bill Kovic and Tom Rosenschulz, journalism is about the disciplines of verification, and its foundation is one thing, which is the truth. So to ensure that journalism remains credible and trustworthy, journalists are guided by a set of professional principles and ethical standards. So today, Areena will bring all of you to explore Bill Kovac and Tom Rosenschulz's Journalism Code of Conduct in Accuracy.
According to Kovac and Rosenschulz, there are 9 journalism code of conduct in accuracy. The first one is journalism's first obligation is the truth. This means that journalists must prioritize factual accuracy over everything else. The main goal of journalism should not be the first one to report the news, but it is actually to provide information that is true and verified. The second one is its first loyalty is to the citizens. Journalists should serve the public and not the government, advertisers, political parties, or even media owners. Journalists' responsibility is to inform people so that the public can make an informed decision. The third one is its essence is the discipline of verification. Journalism is not just about reporting what people say, but requires checking facts, confirming sources, and verifying information before publishing. This would help to prevent any misinformation or rumors about any news. The fourth code of conduct is its practitioners must maintain independence from those they cover. Journalists must avoid from being influenced by political figures, companies, or individuals they report on. Independence would make sure that the reporting is fair, unbiased, and credible. The fifth code of conduct is it must serve as an independent monitor of power. Journalism acts as an observer that holds governments, corporations, and powerful groups accountable. This will help to prevent any abuse of power and corruption. The sixth one is it must provide a forum for public criticism and compromise. Media should allow space for different viewpoints, debates, and discussions. This supports democracy by letting the public express their opinions and challenge their ideas. The seventh one is it must strive to make the news significant, interesting, and relevant. Journalists should present important issues in a way that audiences can understand and relate to. This does not mean sensationalizing, but making information more engaging and accessible. The eighth code of conduct is it must keep the news comprehensive and proportional. News should reflect the reality fairly, where important issues should not be overshadowed by minor stories. Coverage should be balanced and give proper context. The last code of conduct is its practitioners must be allowed to exercise their personal conscience. Journalists should have the freedom to act ethically based on conscience, especially when faced with pressure to publish something inaccurate or unethical.
Thanks to Areena for the explanation of the core principle of journalism. So from these codes, we can clearly see how journalism is guided by truth, responsibility, and accountability in serving the public. Now, let us look at some real-life cases that shows how these principles are applied in actual journalism practices. So Areena, can you show us?
So the first case is Malaysia Kini versus Raub Australia gold mining case. Malaysia Kini reported villagers concerned about the use of cyanide in Raub Pahang. The mining company RAGM sued Malaysia Kini for defamation, and in 2021, the federal court ruled in favour of RAGM. This case actually reflects the code of conduct. Its essence is discipline of verification, as Malaysia Kini checked and reported the villagers' testimonies. As well as code of conduct, it must serve as an independent monitor of power, as Malaysia Kini attempted to hold a powerful company accountable despite legal risk. The second case is fake news during COVID-19. During the pandemic, Malaysian authorities opened investigations into fake news cases, including false claims about lockdowns and cures. Journalists were required to carefully verify health data and official statements before reporting and make sure that the citizens receive accurate information. This shows that journalism's first loyalty is to the citizens and its first obligation is to the truth, where accurate reporting was important to protect public safety about COVID-19. The third case is Al Jazeera documentary on migrant workers. In 2020, Al Jazeera produced a documentary, Locked Up in Malaysia's Lockdown, about the treatment of migrant workers in Malaysia during the COVID-19 lockdown. The documentary featured about the immigration department and police raided places occupied by the migrants during COVID-19. The journalist faced police investigations and was accused of tarnishing Malaysia's image. Al Jazeera stand by their principles to report the truth with verified information. The fourth case is Malaysia Kini contempt case. Malaysia Kini was fined 500,000 ringgit after reader comments on their sites were deemed to scandalise the judiciary. The case highlighted the tension between providing a forum for public criticism and compromise and discipline of verification in moderating online content. Malaysia Kini's role in hosting public debate reflects the principle that journalism must serve as an independent monitor of power even when facing legal challenges. The fifth case is the 1MDB scandal investigation. Malaysian and international journalists reported the 1MDB scandal, which uncovered billions of dollars of embezzlement from the investment fund. Journalists verified financial documents, cross-checked sources, and exposed links to global banks and luxury purchases.
Our video has discussed 3 key areas in media studies: objectivity in media, media and ideology, and the journalism code of conduct. So all of which show that media is not simply a source of information, but a powerful force that shapes public understanding of society. So thank you for watching our video, and we hope this video helps you better understand the role and impact of media in society. That's all from us. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Goodbye!